Hello and welcome to American Heron Wargaming. This is a battle report for Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Today I'm trying out a run using the Into the Vault expansion. This is a special setup for Wasteland Warfare where, instead of fighting over a preset battleground, the map is built room by room as our forces descend deeper and deeper into one of the Vault-Tek vaults that were built before the Great War. The scenario I'm using is called The Overseer Needs You. Join the Loyalty Corps today. There is some valuable data on the Overseer's terminal, so we need to reach their office and access it. We use our vault know-how and pop the entrance open. The door slides aside and we begin our delve. Each time a door is opened, we'll draw a card to tell us what sort of room it leads to. There are separate decks for corridors, general purpose rooms, and feature rooms, which are special rooms which only appear once in the vault. The Overseer's office is one of these special rooms and has been shuffled into the bottom half of the deck, so there's no getting lucky and drawing it on the first go. The vault is built out of official Modifius models, which I 3D printed and painted myself. However, I didn't bother putting the connectors between each of them, as that would be really tedious, and I didn't know in advance if it would need an I, T, or X connector, and I didn't want to have to manage swapping those out on the fly. And here we have our group of Vault Raiders. Leading the group is Butch. The tunnel snake himself has been hired to lead given his experience growing up in the vaults. He has his default switchblade and Pip-Boy, plus a 10mm pistol to give him a ranged attack option. Butch has called in his old friend the Lone Wanderer to help him in this endeavor. They come equipped by default with T-45 power armor, and are our heavy weapons specialist with a minigun and sledgehammer for maximum power. Coming along to help out are a pair of Vault security officers, each with a combat shotgun and a baton. They're not fantastic in combat, but can usually hold their own. My plan for them is to mainly be action monkeys, burning their turns moving and uncovering actions and opening doors and such. The client who hired Butch to do this job is one Dr. Madison Leeville. I don't have a Madison Lee figure, but I found this model of Dr. Evil and figured that his stats would be around the same as Lee's. He doesn't even have a frickin' laser pistol, but a plasma one, because it fit perfectly into the 500 cap limit I was aiming for. Speaking of the caps limit, this list is exactly 500 caps built as is, which is the amount recommended in the expansion. However, I use the caps values from the Wave 8 points document, which are more expensive. This is so that I wouldn't have to use the Wave 9 list building rules for armor, which forces every unit to have to buy armor for caps. Butch, Dr. Leeville, and the security officers all have armor values which aren't represented by any purchasable armor card, and the Lone Wanderer has T-45 armor equipped by default, so that cost is baked in already. With all that sorted, we begin our journey into the vault. Turn 1 begins with one of the vault security officers moving up to the door across from the group. Opening or closing a door is a free action, but you can only do one of them per turn. It also has to be done in between actions, so the officer won't get to use the rest of their move distance once this door is open. This is exactly why I brought these schmoes along. He throws open the door and reveals a plus-shaped corridor. And there's a crate inside. And that crate is searchable. Each corridor that is added will have one searchable item added as well. Full rooms will get 2, at least. Then I roll on the Occupants, Incidents, and Doorways table, and with a double color result, all of the closed doors are actually open. And since my security officer can see straight across the hall, that means that I get to generate another new room. The draw from the feature room deck is this vault's reactor. So I built and populated the reactor room. On top of the 2 usual investigation markers, this room also has a terminal which can be interacted with to redirect power, and a bonus set of lockers with gear inside. For this room, I rolled again, and it also has all of its doors open by default. I was getting ready to generate a 3rd room in a row, but it turns out that the officer can't quite see the open doorway in the reactor, so we'll have to wait on that one. The other security officer activates and opens up the other door leading from the entrance. It's also corridors, because only corridors are generated from the entrance. One of the doors you can see here is a papercraft one I'd made because I had already run out of the 3D printed door segments. In this section of corridor, along with the single searchable, an enemy appears. It's a Mirelurk, and with the security officer having used both of her actions to move up to the door, it gets to take its action right away. It charges into the security officer and takes a swat, but clips the door frame and misses. Butch is up next and charges into the melee with his extra long green charge distance. He hits for 2 damage, but 1 gets blocked by the Mirelurk's strong armor. He then shifts around and takes another swing with the action point that he gets from his Pip-Boy, but misses by a country mile. Next up is the Lone Wanderer, who also charges in and swings away. Crits, but only gets 1 damage through out of the 3. Dr. Leeville heads for the searchable, which isn't blocked by a giant enemy crab. I'm just gonna scooch on past you here and grab this. And that's a wrap on turn 1. Already the vault has stretched from one side of my table to the other, so that should be interesting to deal with next time we open some doors. The Lone Wanderer is up first for turn 2, and swings away with their sledgehammer. An 8 is a miss, but just by 1. The next hit is good though, with 4 total damage and 2 armor breaks, so only the Mirelurk's strong armor applies, and it takes 3 damage, getting to live with just 1 left. The Mirelurk continues trying to pinch the security officer. Its first attempt is a near miss. The second is another near miss, which is fortunate because that would have been a solid 4 damage coming in. The security officer is up next, and her first swing is a crit fail with an action point. Her second one hits with -4 rolled on the effect dice. 1 damage is blocked by the strong armor, but the other one gets through and cracks the crab's carapace. Now it's down. With no more hostiles, our forces get back to exploring the vault. Butch activates next and uses the action point generated from his Pip-Boy to do a quick movement action. It's 1 color shorter, but that's more than enough to get to the side door of the corridor. I went with a side door instead of a main door, as there is a higher chance of that being a feature room. I want to grind through that deck as quickly as possible so I can find the Overseer's office. He opens the door into a research lab. Since the room is supposed to be 3x2, there's not a great way to integrate it into the current layout. However, the rules say that placing a room is more important than getting everything lined up perfectly. So I remove one of the unplaced arms of the hallway. Apparently it was just a window into the lab, not a door. I don't have a ton of research lab specific terrain, so I add some shelves and boxes for the searchables, and a fridge which contains the extra items for the room. Our research lab should have a fridge for samples and cans, right? I roll on the table for occupants and incidents, and get a minor occupant result. Since a minor occupant should be up to 1/3 of my force's base cost, 500 divided by 3 is 166 caps. At 58 caps apiece, 3 Mirelurks would be too many, so I put down 2, and then added a set of hatchlings to round it up. Oh shit, says Butch. Even though he's significantly better at melee than shooting, I don't necessarily want to go further into the room and farther away from my teammates. Plus, by standing and shooting, I can get off 2 attacks and limit each opponent to 1 since they'll have to charge in first. The charge attacks will be slightly better with the charge bonus, of course, but I think in the end this will be the better tactical call. So anyways, I started blasting. Butch's first shot was at the hatchlings to try to clear them out before they can do anything. It's a critical hit for 4 damage, which is more than enough to put them down. The second shot into the green Mirelurk goes wide though. The green Mirelurk charges in and crits for 2 damage, but with 1 rolled on the armor die and Butch having strong armor for some reason, both of them are absorbed and he takes nothing. The green Lurk then shifts around to make room for the red one to join the party. The other Vault security officer moves in to support and can just barely make it with the charge. He doesn't get to attack this turn, but at least he'll deny the outnumbering bonus to the red Mirelurk, who then charges in, but crit fails, so the extra die wouldn't have mattered anyway. Dr. Leeville moves up to the searchable revealed last turn and easily passes a computer's check to unlock it. He snags a dose of Radaway, which could come in handy later if anyone takes any rad damage. Kicking off turn 3, the Lone Wanderer charges into the melee as well, and crits with her sledgehammer. Despite having basically all the effect dice possible, they roll no extra damage. So with 1 rolled on the armor die and 1 strong armor, the green Mirelurk takes nothing. The red Mirelurk activates next and takes a pair of snips at Butch. The first one is a crit fail. At least it's consistent. The second one becomes a hit thanks to the -1 rolled on the effect die. Fortunately, with only 1 base damage, Butch has enough regular and strong armor to escape unscathed. The first Vault security officer is up next and absolutely wastes his bonus black attack die on an astounding 5 damage 1 armor break hit by crit failing. His second swing does connect, but both damage get blocked by the Mirelurk's thick shell. He then shifts around to make room for the other officer to have a nice easy charge as well. The green Mirelurk is up next and wheels around to go after the officer. Its first pinch is a wild miss. The second one connects for 2 damage, but fortunately the officer's armor holds up and blocks both of them. The other officer charges in and takes a swat with her baton. She hits and gets 2 armor break results, but with no extra damage, the strong armor absorbs 1 of the 2 base damage. The other one does get through. Finally some progress on bringing this thing down. Butch joins in as well, and even though I forgot his bonus black die, he nails 2 damage through using the cola bottle results with his switchblade. His second attack gets 1 more through, not able to sneak past the strong armor this time. With his bonus action point from the Pip-Boy, he tries for the same thing, but crit fails this time around. Realizing that it's probably not a good idea to be so far away from the rest of the group, Dr. Evil hightails it back again. Despite what the counting die says, this is the end of turn 3, not 2. No new rooms have been added to the vault, but we've got plenty of enemies to deal with before we move on with that. Apparently, I missed updating the counter at the end of turn 2, so for the rest of the session I was off by 1. For a more zoomed in view of the action, we're doing fairly well. No damage on our side, and one of the Mirelurks has just 2 HP left. Well, that was short-lived. The green Mirelurk is up first and rolls 3 damage and an armor break, which means that the 2 on the armor die blocks nothing, so the vault security officer takes 3 damage, more than half of his health. The second pinch is also good, getting the final 2 damage through and dropping him. This is a real hit for us, as if he had stayed up, we might have been able to find something to heal him with. Wanting revenge, the other vault security officer takes a shot, but is clearly blinded by grief as she crit fails. Her second swing gets a -3 on the effect die, but a 7 is still not enough, so that's another miss. The red Mirelurk is up next, and crit fails its first pinch into Butch. It gets an action point, but can't actually spend them on anything, not even to prepare. Another crit fail means that at least we won't be taking any more damage this turn unless we do something stupid. The lone wanderer heaves away with her sledgehammer and cracks through the last 2 HP on the green Mirelurk. They won't be able to charge and attack this turn with only 1 action left now. So, rather than engaging in melee, they spin up the minigun and sends a volley through towards the red Mirelurk, taking the chance that they'll hit Butch. The first shot generates an action point and hits the correct target, but it deflects off armor. The second shot hits Butch, but fortunately it also gets absorbed by armor. The third shot also hits Butch, but with only 1 damage, his strong armor negates it. The fourth shot is a crit fail with an action point, but the wanderer is already prepared, so they don't get to do anything else with that. And the fifth one is a regular crit fail. No damage at all. What a productive use of bullets. At least they didn't end up hurting Butch. Butch is up next and starts poking away with his switchblade. The first hit is a crit with an armor break, so one gets blocked by strong armor, but the other one gets through. His second swing gets through for another single point of damage, but hey, chip damage is better than no damage. Using his action point for a quick attack, his third attempt is an unfortunate near miss. If it had hit, that would have been another 2 damage sliced in with the cola bottles. To wrap up the turn, Dr. Evil moves up to the next searchable and uncovers an item locked behind a search check. Turn 4 wraps up and things are getting spicy. We've cleared out one of the Mirelurks, but are now down by a whole unit. That's not great for us as we still have a bunch of vault left to explore. The upside, as we start turn 5, is that everyone still on the board is fresh and healthy, and there's only one Mirelurk left with 4 HP. It starts off its turn by attacking Butch and missing. The lone wanderer has that prepare token from last turn, which they use to charge in, so that way they'll get to use 2 attacks on their own turn. The second Mirelurk claw, fortunately, also is a miss. Now the lone wanderer is up, and even though I forgot the extra black die for the charge bonus, it wouldn't have mattered because they crit fail. The second swing critically hits though, and pushes through 2 more damage, another third of the Mirelurk's health gone. Butch is up next, and with his first jab he hits home, rolling a total of 5 damage. Even without 2 points of that ignoring armor due to the cola bottles, he gets the job done and the Mirelurk is down. He then uses his next full action to move up to the next searchable, and it's an item. Unfortunately, it's just some economy wonder glue, a junk item. It's worth caps if you're playing a campaign, but I'm not, so oh well. With no more enemies left, my forces get to wind out the turn. The remaining vault security officer gets a danger and an item. The danger is a clockwork trap. She braces since she doesn't have the lockpicking skill and only gets hit for 1 damage, so the strong armor from bracing takes the hit. Phew! Her item is a cap stash, another one which would be great in a larger campaign, but useless here. Dr. Leeville handily passes a search check and picks out a hazmat suit, which gives 4+1 armor against rad damage, which is pretty nice. Then he moves up to the next door. "I'm just going to throw this open now, Kay?" he asks, with a chorus of no's immediately answering him. And that's it for turn 5 of Into the Vault. I called the game here, for now, because it was getting late and packing all of this up was going to take some time. This is just part 1, of course. We'll definitely be coming back to this soon. Though I am going to have to figure out how to deal with the fact that the vault is definitely going to end up going off my table. I'm also probably going to need to make up a few more of these papercraft doors, since I had only made 4. My 3D printed vault was made to support a few layouts that I had built on a 2x2 foot board that I'd drawn up, but I was astounded how quickly I ran out of these tiles. It took me literally months of printing and painting to complete. I've already been asked if I could share the file that I used to make these papercraft walls, and I'd love to, But to make them, I took renders of the 3D files that are commercially available, and I think that distributing them publicly would violate fair use. So I can write to Vindifius and ask if they're okay with distributing these. You can write to them too if you want to lend your voice to it. Regardless of all that, it was a lot of fun to finally try out this mode. I'm going to be excited to see whether or not my now depleted team is able to make it all the way through to their goal. 500 caps does seem to be a good force size to start, but I think it's going to get quite a bit harder as we go on and get worn down by the Vault inhabitants. I wonder if the finale will just be the lone wanderer in busted T-45 armor fighting off a major swarm of Mirelurks. We'll have to see. That's it for now. Stay safe out there in the Wasteland.